Hi everyone. Welcome back to the second part of identifying and applying inductive reasoning patterns in arguments. So now we are going to look at the 6 common patterns of inductive reasoning. Common patterns basically act as the clues or indicators on how for us to decide whether an argument is inductive or deductive. There are 6 common patterns, and they are inductive generalization, predictive argument, argument from authority, causal argument, statistical argument, and argument from analogy. Now let us begin with the first common pattern, and that is inductive generalization. Now, inductive generalization is basically from the notion of generalization, and that is to generalize any situation. Now, an inductive generalization is an argument in which a generalization is claimed to be probably true based on information about some members of a particular class. In a way of saying this, when you look at an argument, we will be analyzing at the premises as well as the conclusion. Now, when we look at the premises and when we examine the premises as well as the conclusion, we will try to see the connection between the conclusion as well as the premises. And if they come from the same members of a particular class, therefore, this whole argument can be inductive generalization. Now, let me just give you an example here. The premise here is all dinosaur bones so far discovered have been more than 65 million old. So that is your first premise. The conclusion is probably all dinosaur bones are more than 65 million years old. So the conclusion is basically talking or is basically describing the same member of a particular class, and that is the dinosaur. And the premise also talk about the same member of a particular class, and that is dinosaur. So you derive a conclusion from a premise of the same group, and this is what we call inductive generalization. Next, predictive argument. Well, you have the word predictive, which comes from the word prediction. So what is basically a prediction? It's a statement about what may or will happen in the future. So when we look at predictive argument, a prediction is defended with reasons. Predictive arguments are among the most common patterns of inductive reasoning. If you have a predictive argument, there is a high chance that predictive argument is inductive argument. Now let us look at the sample. It has rained in Vancouver every February since weather records have been kept. That is your first premise. Next is your conclusion. Therefore, it will probably rain in Vancouver next February. Now, as you can see here, your conclusion is basically a form of a prediction. But that prediction was made based on your premise. So this whole concept is called predictive argument. And when an argument is predictive, there's a chance that that argument is inductive argument. The third common pattern is argument from authority. Now, when you analyze an argument and there is some sort of the presence of an authority, could be in a form of a figure, it could be in a form of a material like books, automatically that argument is what we call argument from authority. And there is also a chance or a high chance or a high possibility that that argument is inductive argument. Now let us look at an example here. More Americans die of skin cancer each year than die in car accidents. How do I know? My doctor told me. The first sentence is not your premise. The first sentence is basically your conclusion. The second sentence, on the other hand, is your premise. So the structure is the other way around. But we are not going to look in terms of the physical structure. We're just going to analyze this whole argument. Now, you made a conclusion by stating that more Americans will die of skin cancer compared to car accidents. And this is based on what my doctor told me. So that authority presence is in the form of your doctor, and you are referring to your doctor. And any argument from authority can be considered as inductive argument. The fourth common pattern is causal argument. The word causal comes from the word cause. So a causal argument asserts or denies that something is the cause of something else. Now let me just give you an example. The premise is I can't log on. What is the conclusion? Sorry, the conclusion is I can't log on. What is the premise? The network must be down. So one is causing another to happen. Okay? Is statistical argument. Now, a statistical argument rests on statistical evidence. When you have the word statistical, meaning we are actually referring to a form of statistics. Evidence that some percentage of some group or class has some particular characteristics. I give you an example here. 83% of St. Stephen's students are Canadian. Beatrice is a St. Stephen's student, so Beatrice is probably a Canadian. So the first premise is where you have your statistic, 83%. The second premise is to notify that Beatrice is a St. Stephen's student. Therefore, your conclusion is Beatrice is probably Canadian. So when you say that Beatrice is probably Canadian, because Beatrice can also be those who are of that 17% students who are not Canadian studying in St. Stephen School. So that is why we use the word probably, but that is not the focus. The focus here is when you have a statistics and your conclusion is derived from that statistic, the whole argument is called statistical argument. And a statistical argument stand a chance of being an inductive argument. And the last common pattern is argument from analogy. Now, in an argument from analogy, the conclusion is claimed to depend on an analogy. Now, in this case, something that is similar or like we are comparing one thing to another. Now, I give you an example here. Hershey Park has a thrilling roller coaster ride. Donny Park, like Hershey Park, is a great amusement park. Therefore, probably Donny Park also has a thrilling roller coaster ride. Now, you are comparing with Hershey and Donny Park. When you say that Hershey Park has a thrilling roller coaster ride, then you are comparing with Donny Park, and the only similarity that stand in between Hershey and Donny is both are amusement park. When both are amusement parks, automatically your conclusion is Donny Park also perhaps may have or probably may have a thrilling roller coaster ride. So this is how or this is what is meant by argument from analogy.